Okay, anyway, we talked about simple ones. I'm going to go a little bit back into that with a variety of different kinds of things. What I use, reasons I use it is mostly I'm not a real patient person. If you didn't get the job done in football, you get to the bench and give me another kid. Anyway, no, it wasn't that bad. I've been doing this for a long time. I started out, I worked in a cabinet shop for the summer, and I learned a lot about spraying equipment, a lot about lacquers and things like that. And I conversed with Bill here, who is a encyclopedia of different types of finishes. So we're going to just go through some of the oils and what works for me. I know Chris has one that I don't have the patience to use, and we'll talk about what I can speed things up a little bit. All right, we're going to go with what's off the market. We just talked about this stuff. This is the Minwax Antique Oil. I've used this for years. You cannot buy it anymore. You buy a can, if you find a can of it, it's $35 to $105 on eBay. So, but they don't have. So I talked to a lady at Menards. She said, buy this. It's the same stuff. She told me that after I bought this one, teak oil. This is a 2-day drying period. I can put 2 coats of this on in 1 day, and I'm going to gloss. And this one does not give me a gloss for, I don't know, I lost patience in it. How about this one? Wetco. Been around for years.
How about Swedish oil?
But it takes forever to get any kind of gloss, any kind of shine on this stuff. And this one is the natural. You can dye these or have it color stuff on it. And I didn't care for this one either. You'll notice these cans are full. This one is not full. So with all my wood turnings and all these right here, it started out with oil finish and then lacquer over the top of that. That way. So I found that I needed something that would be a little tougher finish, right? So I started getting into what can I put in my oil, and I made my own wipe-on polys, which is, Varathane is a very good product, high quality polyurethane. But I don't know about you guys, but when I put polyurethane on something, it's usually running if it's on a vertical, or if I lay it flat, it kind of rolls off the sides, and I have problems with those things. I've tried foam brushes, I've tried bristle brushes in the store. Anyway, on that one. So those 2 products there, and on that one. So the oils are here, and when I make my own, I will mix one of these Danish oils right with the polyurethane, and I will put those in my good old Pepsi bottles. Whoops, that's lacquer in that one. Here we go. This one is satin. I'm not big on satins because I can't make them glossy. So I use gloss, and if I don't like it as too glossy, I take out my 4-aught steel wool, which is right out of Menards, and wipe that down with that, take the gloss off it. It's a tougher finish. It's more transparent. If you use satin, you're using something to take care of dulling the finish. And that's the problem with that. Okay, this stuff, Japan dryer. Why it's named Japan, I have no idea. But what this does is accelerates the drying process. So it'll speed it up. People who paint houses, they throw that stuff in there. Right, Bill?
We were using that back in the 50s.
Yeah, back before they found out what's really in here.
How much of it do you need?
When you're eating,
No, how much do you need? In other words,
we're gonna put this in as part of the drying process. Just a
How
little
fast you want it to dry?
bit. Okay, gotcha.
You gotta find your niche. I don't put a whole lot in there. That's not that big a hurry. I want it overnight, without problem. But the bad side is it's not food safe. So there's a toxicity in here somewhere. It may be after time, I don't know. I have not found anything to tell me that is that way. But this will dry up paints too. As Bill was talking about house painting,
What is that?
it dries the paints quicker for
What
me.
is that?
Pardon me?
What is that?
Japan dryer. Here, Tony, wake up and pass that around, please.
Do I have to squirt it on you or what?
Yeah.
And that's still available,
Okay.
obviously. Yes, be fine, yes.
So if I'm making this type of product, and this one is a satin finish, we'll just grab another one here. This one here, notice how dark this is. This is spar varnish. What do you use spar varnish for? Boats. You're on the out in the ocean. The spar varnish is pretty tough stuff. You still got to repeat it once in a while.
Yeah,
But
every
the
year.
spar varnish on that one, and I have another one here. It's just about as tough anyway. It's one of these bottles, and that is floor varnish, polyurethane floor varnish. Mix it with oil. It's a tough finish. You want something that's going to be durable on the top. Wipe on poly. How tough do you want your wipe on poly?
You're wiping that out with just a rag, right?
Is it a little louder?
I'm sorry, you're just wiping that out with a rag.
Yeah, that's what we brush it on however you want, wipe it off. Like any other wipe on poly. That's the way it'll go. And if it's going to be a table or something that's not going to be put in your mouth, I mean, you put a little Japan dryer in there, speed it up a little more. The other product I have is the floor varnish. And the floor varnish is very doable for scuffing, things like that. It goes on the floor. It's a good one also. But all I do is 50-50. If I want it to sink in more, what would I use? More oil, less varnish. So now the first coat's going to sink into the wood better. Then pick it in from there. So if you don't need a whole bottle of this stuff, you make it up in little smaller bottles of some kind. And I just pour it, I take it up, pour it, wipe it down. And wipe it down and then wait a little bit and wipe off, put it, just come back with a paper towel, wipe with the grain, and just let it sit there. I would not leave it coated with wipe on poly because it's going to go into certain areas, maybe a little bit more. So you want it even. You just wipe it down. All these oils are made to be wiped to take off any residue on them. On that one. Any other question?
Do you do a second coat with that at all? Like if you're
Oh,
not
I can
happy
do as
with
many
that-
coats as I want with this. The only thing I would say if it's glossy is maybe scuff it up with that 4/0 steel wool again. Take it. Another reason to use 4/0 steel is when you wipe some of these, you may raise the grain a little bit. And we're going to talk about alcohol dyes and what they'll do. But you may raise the grain or be dusty. How many people have dust problems in their shop? Yeah.
Everybody.
So the steel wool will cut it back. You can put your second coat on, cut it back a little bit, put your third one on, and it's good. I mean, that's a good thick finish on there.
How long can you keep in one of those Pepsi bottles without it getting hard?
Pardon me?
How long can you keep in one of those Pepsi bottles before it gets hard? Forever?
Well, I bought this satin probably 5 years ago,
Wow.
and it's still good. Now, if you use it every day,
Yeah.
but you can tell I only use it a couple of times. I don't have I can put it underneath, but I don't want to cut down the transparency of my work, so I don't like satin finishes for that reason. They dull the transparency in things. The oil, I buy the cheapest oil I can. I go to Minwax and I find one that's on sale at Menards or wherever, I'm gonna buy that one. And then get a quart of it, and then I just start mixing it together. And I find that I can do a lot of other things.
What kind of one? What kind of
As
one?
I said, which one do you want? Teak oil, Danish oil, any of them. They're all the same stuff, basically. Right? Chemistry? Yeah.
More or less.
So, I mean, this one dries pretty quick by itself, and it's pretty thin. We can shake that around. Make sure. If you, this one's a little heavier. If you want to smell them, go ahead. Yeah,
Thanks.
on there. Which polyurethane are you going to use? Yeah. Varathane, yellow it more. Spar varnish, you saw what spar varnish looked like. So I want a little darker color to it. I'm going to use spar varnish. If I'm going to use something that I want to be able to be light wood, I'm going to go more with this one. Something that's fairly light. My nephew just called me on my hearing aids. Sorry. Can't do that. Okay. Any other questions on oils? Yeah.
If you're on, this is oil, spar varnish. Spar varnish, I noticed that I've used it a number of times, but especially like on exterior doors.
Right. Exterior or anything.
They yellow. You know, it seems to yellow a lot quicker than anything I've ever used. You know, I just, and even if I recoat it, you know, and tried it, and then I don't know how to. The last time I did it, I paid $700 for a freaking front door.
But if it's outside, I would just take the steel wool to it, scuff it up a little bit, and just lay on, wipe on another coat of the stuff. And that's basically not a whole lot different than what you see on boats.
It's
They
all,
don't take all that varnish off of there.
Yeah,
They just keep putting enough of it on there, and it stays pretty
it's all gonna yellow.
shiny.
The only one that won't yellow is some of the polyurethanes,
Yeah.
water material. If you take your door off, lay it down, get it clean, and rub it on, and then wait a week to put it up, you'll be fine.
How many times you been in a house that has oak floors, and you move a piece of furniture out of the window area,
Well, the
it's a
sunlight.
totally
Yeah,
different
yeah.
color than what's out there in the sun. Yeah. I have a secretary desk that sits on the west side of my big picture window, and I used Minwax antique oil on it. Well, walnut's got a little orange look to it now, where the sun is beat on it. And then you look underneath the windowsill, and it's a little darker over here, a lower portion of it. It's going to change colors. The sun is going to change them no matter what you do. Mother Nature. Okay, now, I do a lot of coloring on a lot of bowls too. You see me come in with blue and red and things like that. And I used to paint model cars as a kid. Build them, AMT. I should have been studying, but I was making model cars. And I needed to paint them. Well, you go to the store, you buy that little can of tester or whatever it was, and spray the car down, candy apple, meadow flake, whatever you're going to do to it on that. And we can't buy candy apples anymore. They're off the market. So what am I going to do now? Thank goodness for TransTint. You're looking at over $100 right here. TransTint bottles. I'm sorry, here we go. And TransTint bottles. These things are about $27 a bottle now. You know, and they're concentrated, so it goes quite a ways. And all you need is red, yellow, blue, and black. And depending on what you want to come out of there, what do you want to do with it? This can be your friends if you do have a little problem with figuring things out. But when you mix these up, there's certain ones that make different colors. You want purple, okay, mix the red with it, blue. What happens with green? And green has a tendency to not be so color fast sometimes, but This wheel, once you get used to reading it, it's close enough that you figure out what I need to do with that. And you'll notice on this side, there's different shades of it. Okay, what did you put in this one? What did you put in this one? There's one with white in it. And but I want transparency. I don't really want white so much. So I will use black to darken a color, but it won't take out the transparency to it. All right, so it's candy apple red in this bottle, and this is a no-brainer. I take my lacquer, which when I worked in the cabinet shop with Daco went out of business. They were up in Libertyville, and Bill told me about Mohawk. I swear by this stuff, it's wonderful. It lays down well, it flows out well, much better than well, much better than this. Water, acrylic, polyacrylic, and the other one that's a spray. Yeah, it'll come to us.
Yeah.
Anyway, this one is blue. This one is green. You notice this one's a little darker. So what's in here? What colors? I got 3 colors here. What color would make green? 2 colors will make it. Anybody?
Yellow and blue?
Yellow and red?
Blue. Blue.
You're going to have an orange. How about yellow and blue?
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, yellow and blue. So yellow and blue and a touch of black. And it darkened it up to a deeper. Yeah, he knows what this is. You need to look at any of that. And how much do I put in? I don't measure any of this stuff. You put your lacquer, I do 50-50 with lacquer. We're going to get into the lacquers here in a bit. 50-50 with lacquer. Or if I want it thinner, I want it to soak in more, then I'm going to, go the other way. Oh, no, let's go back a little bit. That's making candy apple, but if I want to make dye, same process. What do I switch out? I get rid of the lacquer and I put in alcohol. One of these cans. I buy this by the gallon. Denatured alcohol. And the denatured alcohol and this, I mix in a bottle, usually one of those, and I just look for a color that I like. I really rarely have to replicate them, and pour them in there, and just keep adding to this till I get the shade of red or whatever I want here. And the alcohol dye, I recommend alcohol dye over water dye. Oh, I never use that stuff. Water dye will sink in farther, but it's going to raise the grain. You're going to have to cut it back and that type of thing. But it will transport farther. But alcohol is close. Yeah, alcohol it'll sink into the wood, but it's going to raise the grain a little bit because alcohol attracts water. So you're going to get a little bit of that, but that's what that 4-ounce steel wool is for too. I don't have to sand it back. And many of my bowls are 600 grit. They're sanded out that far. But mixing the 2 of these, I've been able to make dyes brown.
Color brown now.
You want the color
Black
wheel?
and red, isn't it? Black
I
and
would
red.
suggest you buy a color wheel.
Black and red.
But you could put blue and red together, make a little purple, and then throw in a few other things.
He shows you red and green.
On there. But you can make all your basic colors, and they're transparent. So now when I put it on wood, it really, I can see the wood, I can see the grain. With the alcohol dye, once you buy this, then you got how much you want to make in one, a pint. or maybe you only need a cupful. And you can do that with that. So mixing that up is good. I think, okay. So I got that, and I was talking about lacquers. I'm getting into that. And these two can be your friend if you don't have compressed air.
What's the pack of colors called?
Pardon me?
4 bottles. What is that? It's
Does it come as a package, your bottles, or those separate?
No,
These
these
are
are
separate,
individual.
there's trans 10. You buy each bottle separate.
Buy each bottle, $27 a bottle.
what are they?
Trans 10.
Trans?
Tint,
Tint.
trans tint. You can also buy other products that are a little less size-wise. I think this is like 2 ounces. You can find the products in 1 ounce.
Where do you get them?
They're just a different company.
Well, Rockler used to have them.
Wood craft carry?
They still do, but.
Amazon.
Woodcraft,
Amazon
Amazon's
too.
got them. I don't think you'll find them at the craft stores
Hobby Lobby.
so much. Hobby Lobby, yeah. They might have another product like it than that one. Okay, so now I'm going into lacquers, but I just want to touch this one. Each time I put a coat on there, I wipe it down. Now I either take compressed air or use a tack rag. The tack rag has got a varnish like in
It's a
it.
resin.
Resin, yeah, resin in it. And I keep them in a nice little jar that I got at Menards on sale. So it's transparent, and these things can be stacked. So it's a handy little item. You catch them on sale. Okay, so when I make that, and I want a candy apple color, I'm going to have the 50-50 and then put the colors into it on that one. So now I kind of go, if I don't like the wood, I'm going to put something over the top of that thing. And how about some glitter? I can spray that bowl down with glitter, and now I'm going to put candy apple red over the top of it. And I look like I'm right back in the 50s now. Yeah, on that one. So these are okay. I've had them where I've textured a bowl. I'll take elm, and I'll turn the bowl, sand it down to maybe 120, just to make sure the form's right. And I take out my blowtorch, and I will burn that thing, and burn it, and then take. Elm is a ring porous wood, and a ring porous wood has a softer summer, and then the winter is hard. So when I stroke that with a wire brush, I'm taking out that softer wood that's been burned, and it still leaves the ribs. So now I have an interesting texture to everything, and I can make a bowl, and then I'm going to put a color over the top of that. It's basically black. And that's where you can get into mica powders. I didn't bring those tonight, but I got another $100 and some in mica powders. And you get those at Rockler had them, but Menards is now selling that along with resin and everything else for casting stuff.
Hobby Lobby still has
Yeah,
microphones.
Hobby Lobby's had them, yeah.
They're
But
not
their
too
bottles are so small.
Yeah, it's $24.
Yeah, I mean, everybody selling the ones now that are,
Yeah.
you know, and $15, $16. You go to Hobby Lobby and you're paying $8, $9 now for a little ounce. Not some of them aren't even an ounce thick. Okay, so I'm going to put my lacquer on a bowl, or after I put on the other. If I textured it, I really don't even have to spray it. I just take a brush, wipe the lacquer on it because it's all bumpy, rumpy. There's nothing I have to have that smooth. So if I want to get it smooth, or I have it on a smooth bowl, then I'm going to spray it. And I started in the cabinet making. I worked the summer in the cabinet shop, and I learned how to make them. And then I went home. I said, I ended up tearing the whole kitchen out. And my wife's, I started out just wanting to change the color because it's all maple. But that didn't work. We ended up finally, that I can make these things. So I bought a 2-horse, or I think I had a 1-horse router at the time. And I bought a table that goes in, you know, and I had some jigs that I could make up, really simple on that one. And I started making the doors. Well, I made over 100 of these. My house is loaded with raised panel oak on that. We're going to talk about how I got that finish on there.
Move to your
I
right.
think, but so that was the way I wanted to go. I didn't have a sprayer. Well, I went to Handy Andy or something like that back then, and I found they have a Wagner electric sprayer, $29.95 or something like that for that thing. I said, wonder if that'll work. Well, it may not spray it full thickness, but if I mixed it 50-50, 60-40, something that got it thin enough, I could use that and spray it. I sprayed my whole kitchen with a Wagner, and it looks just as good as this door here. And again, it's the lacquer. Again, it's the lacquer. It's the drying volatile, or what I call it, the thinner, are very important. That's why Mohawk lacquer, Daco back then, those are important. They flow out. And some of the other ones, if you pick up a can and it's kind of light, and you go like that, it sounds like it's mostly alcohol or mostly thinner. And then what did they put in it to thin it? The cheaper the thinner, the less flow out you're going to get. So you want a good, decent quality. I mean, you go to Sherwin-Williams, and they'll give you a very good one. And I don't know if you need quite that quality, but you know, this one here, you want to take a picture of it, or you can look at it that way. Klingspor in North Carolina sells this product, Mohawk. And what was the price at Rockler when you quit?
Oh, great, I don't even remember.
$35 a can.
Yeah.
How many would you want to buy? Yeah, I'd go to Klingspor, get it for 10.
Really?
$10. So it's still $10. It was $6, and Bill was selling some at $6. This one and this one are my two go-to products. There's a difference in them. This one is now called Flow Clear Lacquer. It's water white lacquer, and it is very transparent. This one is a catalytic lacquer. What is a cat lacquer? Cat lacquer has a little additive in there. It makes the finish tougher. So if you're looking for cat quality, your kitchen cabinets, your vanity are all now cat varnish. But cat lacquer works very well also. And if it's not in the bathroom, it'll work fine. Or kitchen. I have a computer tables. I made probably 4 of the computer things, and they're all done with this stuff. But it comes in a sprayer. It is good, and it does flow out. There's a few other ones probably that may. What's the one that crafts or woodcraft? The lacquer. It's the same quality as this, but you're going to pay considerably more for it than you would at Klingspor. I came across this the other day, and this is Rust-Oleum Universal Clear Durable Top Coat. And this one is not really, it's for wood, metal, plastic, and masonry. So it's could be a little tougher than some of the lacquers on there, but I don't know, this was like $10 at Menards, which is pretty cheap considering. And it's clear, so I'm going to play with that one some more.
Have you played with any of that Minwax spray?
I'm sorry?
From Menards? Have you played with any of the Minwax as a spray?
Minwax lacquer, yeah, but let's get into that a little bit. You have brush-on lacquer. What's the difference? Anybody guess on that one?
Retarder, sticker.
The difference is how fast they dry. If you're doing brush-on lacquer, you're putting it out with a brush. How many times you got halfway through and the brush starts dragging? You're trying to go back to even something out, and you can't do it. So they put a retarder in there, and that one is right here. Yeah, you can buy this stuff at Menards. This is the old one, but you can buy that too. Retarder, any place that's selling lacquers, you'll have it. And this slows down the drying process. So if you have something that needs to not humidity, there's a prime example. If I'm spraying and the humidity's 90-some%, and now all of a sudden you got this fog in the finish. Oh, well, that's, how do I get rid of that? Put some thinner, and maybe a little retarder in there and spray it a little bit with that, and out comes the thing. And if shellac, you take your alcohol and a rag and go over with about 1/4 inch or so and just roll across the surface with that, and you pull the moisture out of your shellac finish. So all those tricks are part of the whole thing. All right, so I don't use this very often. My basement is pretty dry. I was fortunate enough to be in the flea market. I used to go to one on Harlem and 80 all the time. And here's a good guy sitting there. He had a fire department evacuator fan. It about that big, and it had a boat prop in this thing out of aluminum, a fully enclosed motor, half-horse motor in this thing, and you turn it on, my doors swing open in the house, so I have that up in my window, and that thing just, it takes the lacquer right out of the house and it's gone. So here I am, and when I do doors, this is going to be in a horizontal position, and I will spray that one. When I was doing my kitchen cabinets, I had 2x4s out in the rec room. And I was laying all of that, probably 15, 16 of those things laid out in a row. By the time I got done spraying one side, came back, flipped them over, did the other side. Lacquer, that's what's so good about it. It dries really pretty quick. So depending on the humidity, what you're trying to get done with that. Now you have what they call cat varnish. And I'm not too familiar with it other than it's a tougher finish, right? My authority. Yeah, that was just affirmative on that one. How do I get that now? I've moved up in the world, and I have different products here. This one is my airbrush. Why would I use an airbrush? Especially if something's small enough. I might put toner in here. Want to spray a little dark area around here to darken that door and highlight the panel on there, anything like that. I've done bowls with an airbrush in it on that one. So I do not use this with mica powders. It doesn't work. The hole is not big enough, and you can't spray. What I mean by mica powders, they're reflective, and they work very well over black. But you cannot, yeah.
Make a powder over black.
There you go. Bill brought the stuff. Mica powder's on there. And it's opaque when you put all that mica powder going in. But to do that, you have to move up a gun. And Bill knows exactly where this came from. Central, big name brand if you're going to Harbor Freight. And why not? It works. And look at you get a pressure gauge with the thing. You can dial a regulator on it. What is it, $30?
Yeah.
in there. And they get, these things, you can actually put a bigger one on here, spray more out of here, but it's gonna take you a while. This is a small nozzle on these things. You just wanna keep it clean.
If you turn the pressure nozzle down to 6,
Yeah.
it'll spit. You'll get dots. It's the best dot gun I ever used.
Spit it at you. And you can go to the Bergstrom and buy a $250 gun or a $300 gun or whatever they are now. Or you can go back to Home Depot and pick up a Husky. This works fine. It does everything I need to do on it. And these I bought, these might be from Harbor Freight. It's plastic and it's a throwaway if you want, but I do clean them out. And I put my colors in there, I can see the color and the mica powder. If I have mica powder in it, I'll shake it up. Shake it up some more, and it evens out the spray and stuff on there. But this works all the time. I sprayed a lot of doors with this too. And I picked one up on discount, or what do you call it? The counter where they're giving stuff away more, about half the price of that one. And that wasn't that much at that time. I think it was $35, $38 for that on that one. On there. How much lacquer do you need? Well, I have a kitchen table that I made out of oak. I was out at the Amana colonies, and I that's a really nice looking table. And I thought, I can make that. I bought the catalog. I also made my 4-poster bed while I was doing it. That's all walnut. My table and kitchen's all oak. So I thought, okay. So I started out on it, and I used a router to cut a 50-inch or so circle, and put a ridge on it and stuff. And I got to the point where, let's go back a little bit again. I've got to backtrack here and talk a little bit about fillers when you're spraying and stuff. This is actually the stain on here and right here somewhere. There we go. This is harder to get. I got this from Klingsport, good old Klingsport. They do a lot of furniture in North Carolina and all those things. Types of things like that. It is if you get down to North Carolina, you'll find a lot of factories that are doing all kinds of wood. But it comes basically a light brown or tan, whatever you call it. A wood filler will fill the grain on oak, elm, things like that, where you want a nice even surface. You put it on. First of all, I dye it. I put some alcohol stain in there. Doesn't hurt a bit. I might put some lacquer in there to dry it out quicker. Excuse me, not lacquer thinner. Lacquer thinner, it'll dry quicker. I tell you, I don't have a whole lot of patience when it comes to it. And wait an hour or if you have to, and then just start sanding that flat, and you'll get a much better surface than especially on oak. Okay, so I got that, and I stained it with this. This is called a lacquer stain. There's lacquer in here, and I just wipe that on, and I wipe it, get it, and don't stop, just keep wiping it till it looks good, and get out of there. And go back and and overlap them a little if you have to, like that. If that's not working, you can do an alcohol stain on it, but you might try that first. Either one of them will work fine. Alcohol is wonderful because it's very difficult to see lap marks or anything like that on it. It does a great job with that. So this will smooth it out. This door was done that way, and I'll pass this around. But you feel the surface on this. It's oak, and there's no grain in there. It's all smoothie on that one.
Is that what's in there?
So anyway, this table,
Is that filled with the stuff from Klingsport? Is that filled with the stuff from Klingsport?
Klingspor you can buy at an Old Master. Old Master
What's this filled with?
finish.
No, the seat, to fill
The
the
filler.
The filler.
The filler is Old Master.
That's right.
That actually isn't on that one, but this is hard to get nowadays.
Ah, that one.
I'll pass this around too.
Klingspor
If this was from Klingspor.
Do they still have it?
Yeah, and again, it's just a brush on, and then you go across the grain, wipe it in across the grain, and then you start rubbing it, and rub that across the grain, and then just finish off with the light with the grain to take any marks off it, things like that. Let it dry, and you come back with 220 sandpaper and sand it all down. Now it's a beautiful flat finish on that one. You can handle that one around on there. All right. Okay, back to my table. The table in my kitchen, I have 18 coats of lacquer on the surface. And I just wanted to get a durable, it's all cat lacquer. I was lucky enough I could go in the cabinet shop and they would give me a bottle of the cat lacquer along with the lacquer. So I had a little inside work there. And once that's on there, you could buy it all now. I had to eventually. But the cat lacquer toughens it up. Now you probably would do that with cat varnish. The cat lacquer will yellow it. Those cabinets were a little bit lighter. This one's in the basement, so it's not too bad. But some in my kitchen, you can see the color is a little more yellowy, darker on that one. But it's the only way to go when you're doing open grain wood in a cabinet somewhere in there. Walnut, you could use a light filler with just a little bit in it. You don't need much. The grain is not that open. Just if you want to make it a little smoother, you just thin it down enough and wipe it down, sand it up a little bit on there. Okay, I'm almost done. See, look at it over here.
Take care of those.
Yeah, this is how I keep my lacquer, other than opening up the can, but it's 50-50 in here. It's clear. Notice I label it with tape, just to make them that way. And acetone, just be careful. This stuff will eat your lungs up. And MK, what is that, MK, what's the stuff we have over at Ileana? MTK?
MEK.
Yeah, that's nasty stuff. I was a grad assistant down at Eastern Illinois in wrestling, and the guy was refinishing a wrestling mat. He had it pulled out in the gym floor of the field house, and he's spraying his vinyl rubber mat with this stuff, and he had to have that stuff. That was his thinner. He had circles under his eyes that were just black. And I'm thinking, he's not going to live another 10 years. It was getting in the ventilation system. All the professors left the building. They took the afternoon off because he was stinking the whole place up. You don't want to be anywhere around that stuff.
When you say 50-50, what do you mean by that?
Oh, okay, if I'm making lacquer that I want to spray, I don't want to spray it. I don't have enough power, perhaps. I'm going to thin it down. So my suggestion is 50-50. That way, it's 50% lacquer thinner and 50% lacquer. So now it's thinning like any other paint or anything else. So now I got 50-50. If I want to try wiping this stuff or brushing it, I'll put a little retarder in there, and I might go 60-40. 60 out or 60 thinner and 40% lacquer. And I can wipe it in and suck it in there as much as I
The
can.
lacquer is your finish.
Right. I do not use sanding sealer. I don't like sanding sealer, again, for the same reason. It takes some of the transparency out of the wood. It sands easy. It's got all these additives for it. But if you look at it in a bottle, you won't see through the bottle.
Because the lacquer is your finish, the thinner just thins it out so you can apply it.
Right. Yeah, the thinner, and a thin enough, it's soaking into the grain. Now I'm using it as a sanding sealer. There's no reason to buy sanding sealer. It's thin enough, you can, it's gonna go there and then you just sand it back a little with your 220, 320, wherever you're going to on there. Okay, I got that one. Oh yeah. All right. This is vinyl sealer. Vinyl sealer. This one's made by Balin. That's the one. Woodcraft sells Balin. Balin's is very similar to Mohawk, but again, the price is not going to be $10. They're 18 to 20, I think, right now for their Balin's products. But with vinyl sealer, it puts a light coat of liquid plastic, like, so it's for kitchens like that. That's where that product would basically be. You want to scratch up the surface a little bit if you're using this. Get it where lacquer. You want to grab whatever's underneath it, and you put. I use the example. I will put wax on bowls. Johnson's paste wax. Rub it in. It's in the grain. It might be dark, where oak will be in the grains. Okay. Now how am I going to finish it? It's waxed, but I want something a little more durable. I can put oil on it and wipe it off, and that'll work. And when I get, or I could just use lacquer. Shellac will work also. If you're spraying it, it will whoosh, move right into the wax and go to the wood. So now you've got one or the other there. And the durability, of course, the shellac is not good. But I want a little tougher finish. I'm going to use my lacquer. And did I use polyurethane there? I need to scuff that up a little bit, and then I'll finish off. All these bowls have 2 to 3 coats of oil on them first to darken the wood and make it kind of looking the way I wanted it to. And then I sprayed over the top of it. But I do that with wax. I'll take the bowl, I'll let it sit overnight, and now the wax has got some of the volatiles out of it, and then I'll just spray it. Again, it's those type of things you can use with lacquer and get away with them much more than you could with some other products. The lacquer will be, you'll feel a little residue-like on there, and that's kind of where the residue, the volatiles have come out of the lacquer and a little bit on the surface, but they just wipe off. They're not going to be sticky, they just feel like there's something there. You can wipe them off and you're good to go on that. Any other questions? Wait, speak up back there, Al. This thing's not that good.
Bob, what's a good substitute for antique oil finish in wax?
Tongue.
What?
The tongue oil. Where it went.
Probably over here.
It's over there somewhere.
The tongue oil?
Tongue
Mixed
oil.
with anything?
Minwax tongue oil. Right there in that can. Take a picture of it, Al.
Thank you.
The only trouble is I cannot get it from Menards in a quart. Maybe they will eventually. But right now it's all in a pint. So I get my 11% off and go with that. What I would do, if I was going to keep it in something, I'd put it in a plastic bottle. Any of those oils, if you're having trouble with polyurethane, get them out of the can. Don't leave it in a can. Get it out of the can, put it in a Pepsi bottle. I use Pepsi because I can flatten them. Coke, they're
My
pretty tough.
question is, why do you flatten them?
Take the air out of them. You want to buy the, spray that you shove in carbon dioxide or whatever it is. You pay what for that thing? $20? You don't need that. You just squeeze them. That's why Pepsi bottles are so good. You can't do that with a Coke bottle. Don't use a water bottle. Those things are pretty flimsy. These are good, strong bottles. I put, again, lacquer thinner in them. I put oils in them. I put lacquer in them. The only thing you might have to do is take a pliers and take the top off. because it had some residue on it, on that one. It doesn't leak, the top's the same way. They're tough plastic. And you know, it actually costs more for the bottle than it does for the contents. Yeah. For Pepsi or Coke. Yeah. Interesting.
Bob, did you say, why you can't get antique oil finish anymore?
Can't really, no, you're gonna pay through the nose.
VOCs.
The cheapest I've seen is $35 on eBay, and I've seen some people charging $100 plus
Why is it more expensive now?
because there aren't many around.
Why?
Somebody, well, some
It's
people,
not being made anymore, Al,
I don't have an answer.
Why is it? being
because
made?
it's very toxic. The VOCs are toxic.
All your
And
companies
it's
are
been
dropping.
outlawed.
Home Depot sells very little volatile types of oil finishes. It's all water-based stuff. The same as battery drills. It's tough to find a chainsaw anymore with a gas engine on. All the cheap ones are now battery operated. You want a weed whacker? No, it's a battery. Same thing. EPA. They're all taking it. Mandating what you get. That's why I'm ready to get my electric car.
Do you use stain at all? Do you, no stain? Do you stain? Wood stain?
Wood stain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to buy it.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I get out my trans tip, and I'm at the point now where I can pretty well match what I had. I used to buy it up in that store by the airport, at wholesale. Remember? They had the Mohawk lacquer and all this thing. I used to go up buy a gallon of this stuff because I wanted to match what I have. Everything in my house is that same color. So now I can't get it. So I start playing with them and mix up. Oh, that looks pretty darn close. And I can get there using red and blue and basically black if I have to, but usually not. They put a little yellow in there if I want a little more orangey look to the brown, and you'll get there. Especially if I'm trying to bit something that's in the windows where the sun is beat on the oak. I like that.
Any other questions for Bob? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. And if you want more or want to come over my house, it's always open.